Don't go anywhere. We're going to have a quick word from one of our sponsors, Apax Lab. Elevate your coffee experience with Apax Lab mineral concentrates. Apax Lab's precision-engineered formulas, including tonic, jam, and lilac, are designed to enhance the coffee's natural flavors. Not going to change it, it's just going to enhance it. It's going to bring out the vibrant acidity, the rich sweetness, or if you use lilac, it might bring out those delicate floral notes that you've been looking for. Trusted by world-class cafes and even barista champions, Apax Lab helps you unlock your coffee's full potential. Discover more at apaxlab.com. Wait, where was that again, Sonam?
The internet.
Oh, okay. Thought I was going to say the website. Thanks. Today's episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsors at Eco Barista. The reason I sound like this is because they got massages at our stand at Mice, and so I'm getting a massage while recording this message for you. They're the best sponsor of the pod that we could have had. They have the best eco products. This probably sounds really pornographic, but it's not. I'm just getting a massage. They have the best eco-friendly coffee products. They got coffee bags that you can design yourself. They got cups. They got iced coffee cups. They got everything you need. So make sure to support them because they support us. Head to ecobarista.com.au and get 15% off your first purchase when you sign up. Oh, mama, that's good. Actually, I have some bad news for my newborn child and my partner. I think I'm in love. Man, what a guest he was. What a guest.
Honestly, what a sweet
I was like,
thing.
where is that going?
Well, I think I've just fallen in love. He was so humble. He was so sweet, so generous with his time. And he's making what seems like one of the best home espresso machines on the market. So what's not to fall in love with there?
100%.
How do you say his last name again? Terzulli? Was that it?
Terzulli.
Oh, Terzulli from
Nick
Fellow.
Terzulli.
From Fellow. Oh, man, that was a great podcast. We're going to dive into a bit more of that and chat about our takeaways from talking about the Espresso Series 1 and also the state of the home espresso market as well. But first, I thought I'd start off the coffee break with a little news. On the back of this piece of paper, I have the price that David Lynch's home espresso machine sold for at auction. David Lynch passed away earlier this year. He just had an estate auction selling off some of his stuff. It's a sad loss. One of the greatest filmmakers, known for making the original Dune, for making Mulholland Drive, and of course, the iconic TV series Twin Peaks. But at this auction, he just sold off his home espresso machine, which was a La Marzocco GS3. Now, this machine retails for around $7,000 USD, but I'm going to turn this around and show you what his machine sold for at auction. $57,785 US dollars, nearly 90,000 Australian dollars for the GS3.
That's insane.
And does it look any different?
It's not customized David Lynch or anything. It's just a GS3. I think the picture in the auction book was literally just a cutout from the La Marzocco website that was pasted in there. So the only
just
way...
had osmosis, David Lynch osmosis into it.
Osmosis. It just had genius running through it. But man,
Well, yeah.
people have too much money.
Got that, it's got
Well,
that art.
Yeah, exactly. It's art. You can't put a price on it, Well, maybe you can, and it's $60,000. But the coffee machine, David Lynch was kind of known for his love of coffee and that being such a regular part. It kind of fueled the creative process. So maybe people are buying it in the hope that they will be the next art house director.
Oh, they're going to fuel their desire with the coffee machine. It'd be really good if the person who bought it also just bought the same GS3 brand new and just had them both on a bench. It's like, one of these is the GS3. One of these is David Lynch's GS3. I don't remember which one, but it's kind of beautiful.
Pretty sure he
Blind
used it.
triangulation taste test.
Oh, can you taste the Lynch?
Yeah. It has a Lynchian, slightly surrealist flavor profile.
Yeah, exactly. This is so surreal. Lynchian. I love it. So that was our first piece of news. Another piece of news, we had Mork on the podcast the other week. Chocolatiers make some of the
Kirill and
best.
Josephine, we love them.
Absolutely amazing. They're actually hosting an event here in Melbourne that's coming up. They've got Japanese chocolatier Yukari Nakano, founder of Cacao Goto. Sorry if I butchered any of the pronunciation there. They're bringing the first ever modern tea ceremony with cacao to Australia, happening July 10th at the Mork Looking Glass in the Melbourne CBD. So that's a great event to go check out if you got some free time. That should be coming up next week.
Yum.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I mean, chocolate's one thing, but cacao, and I know this is kind of the focus of that particular ceremony, is I think they talk about it as before cacao becomes chocolate, right? So it's like almost the raw product and taking this mindful, kind of similar to the green tea ceremony approach to it.
Yeah.
But tasting and understanding the flavor profiles there, super interesting. Very different to coffee, but has a lot of similar parallels. So yeah, I reckon that could be really interesting.
And you could double it up. You've got Coffee Weekender coming up. The weekend, really live it up and go into the tea ceremony with cacao on the 10th. They should team up and get like a discounted bundle package or something going up. So that's that. And the final bit of news that we have coming up is Starbucks just had one of the biggest barista competitions of all time. This is unbelievable. I didn't believe it till I saw it. They had 84,000 competitors competing in this. And then they got down to a final 12 that they held the finals in Las Vegas. It looked like the bloody Super Bowl. Like it was this giant event, whole stadium kind of going off. They were focusing on things like blind coffee tasting, latte art, and even making signature beverages. And then the winner was Nobuki Shimode or Shimude of Japan. Again, butchering the pronunciation. Lots of Japanese pronunciation coming in I'm not doing well with. But he won creating a blooming yuzu espresso. And now he's going to go around to all the Starbucks reserves, worked with the team, and he actually gets to develop a recipe that's going to end up on the Starbucks menu, which I thought is pretty cool.
That's rad. I want to see more of that happening in our normal kind of championships, right? There's all these incredibly creative drinks that get built and launched for a panel of 4 judges. And like, thankfully, I get to taste some of those. I am one of those judges sometimes. But all the other times you're sitting there going, that sounds amazing. Let's get it on the cafe menu.
Absolutely.
You know, let's get it out there.
Yeah. And when we had Starbucks on the pod just the other week, it was even getting brought to my attention that maybe they want to get It's Just Coffee over at the next Starbucks Barista Championship hosting over there. So that would be awesome. Get us to Vegas, get me on the floor, playing talking about coffee machine, coffee.
All on red.
No, but that would be unbelievable. Also, just a little update. For those that can't see me, I've got a giant swinging arm microphone now. I can be so versatile with my movements. For people watching the YouTube, you're lucky to see this thing just flying around.
You stand up, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Moves up and down. Look at this. And it's making a
fancy.
bit of a noise on the mic, but not too much of an annoyance there. Let's get back to talking fellow, the Espresso Series 1. Ben, were there any kind of like key takeaways or anything that stood out to you?
Look, as you kind of said, Nick was such a great professional and passionate coffee person to talk to. He obviously, as he said, he lives and breathes this stuff. But I thought his perspective on how to tackle these kind of seemingly complex problems or like big challenges, like how do we revolutionize home espresso, was a really cool reminder that when we want to break it apart, he just said, just break apart those problems into smaller and smaller increments, and you'll find ways to solve the small thing, and then you can build back up to that bigger problem. And I think that's it's just a cool reminder, I think, for all of us. Coffee's got lots of different challenges to try and solve. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think he kind of summarized it at the end, and you even brought up for cafes. I think you were saying too often we get stuck in a world of this is how it was done before, so I'm just going to do that. I think the same applies for the home espresso market of like, oh, this is how it's always been done. This is how commercial machines worked. Whereas I feel like, real inventors kind of take the problem in front of them and maybe have their learnings from the past, but kind of also ignore it so that they can start fresh and look at it with clear eyes. And I think he's kind of done that with that machine that I'm genuinely really excited about. Tried to get a plug in there to try to get him to send us one at the end. I think.
Yeah, I noticed that. I think we all noticed that.
Yeah, I noticed it maybe because I said it about 15 times and really bullied him into that situation. I did chat with his team and they were saying that once they're ready to go, that hopefully they could get us one out. So, I mean, maybe there's something fun we could do with the podcast listeners. If we get one, maybe once we've had our play with it, maybe someone else listening to the pod could get their hands on it. Who knows? Who knows how that could work out? I also thought, I knew there was going to be the guidance but I thought it was literally just going to be like grind finer, grind coarser, because that's kind of the guidance that we've seen in some of the other home machines, which is great, like the Ninja or the Breville, which is really cool if it's like try grind size 16. But this one is giving you more guidance than that based on the types of shot that you're doing, based on if you're having a different pre-infusion and the extraction time, based on if you're trying to do a turbo shot or a longer lever shot or just a regular shot. It kind of dials in all of those elements, which is amazing. And then also he was saying, wait, did I get this right? You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Was he saying that he's going to have live time? There's a feature maybe in the future coming where it'll have live time adjustments. So if you grind too coarse, the machine will recognize that and it will actually change the pressure profile of it to accommodate that grind size to make the shot drinkable.
Yeah. No, that confirmed. He said he's in works with auto mode. So depending on there were so many takeaways, but that was specific. His big thing is we don't want to waste coffee. You're always wasting half a bag of coffee to dial in your machine. Whereas this is straight away, you get it and it will, in the infusion, it's this is taking too long. It'll adjust in real time. So if you go too fine or if you go too coarse, it'll change.
Well, one of the biggest problems that you face as a roaster, and I always thought it's probably wasteful, but I always thought a fun little gimmick for our coffee brand would be if I send you your kilo of coffee and then I also send you a little miniature replica bag of coffee that has 40 grams in it. And it's the dial-in bag. It's we know you hate wasting your coffee from your other one. So here's 2 shots to try to get it to a good place before you really dive into your bag. His solution is much more elegant than mine, which is what if we just had the machine adjust so that it makes it a decent tasting coffee? So good for wastage, because that's one of the number one complaints we get of people being I've wasted half the bag before I've even dialed in the coffee.
I think jumping on that as well is that just to bring it up again on waste and everything, but just the little things like the heat up kind of features and not wasting water. I've never heard of that issue even thought about but now that I think about it, you obviously you clean your machine, you do all those things, and there's a lot of water that expelled. And I guess an issue with the engineering side is that if you're trying to heat up that quick, to heat up the portafilter or the bit at the end, right? That's what I got from it.
Yep.
You actually need to run coffee through it and it heats as it runs through. He's no, we sorted that out. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I think this is one of the problems. He didn't kind of phrase it in quite this way, but the challenges for home coffee making has often been throughput, right? Is that you make this intermittent, a couple of coffees here, a couple of coffees there. In the cafe, you warm up the machine. The first thing you do is pull a few kind of calibration, seasoning shots, but you're pushing a lot of coffee through and you've got coffees coming all the time throughout the day. At home, if you're I make one coffee in the morning, I make another coffee early afternoon, whatever it is, often in the past, you need that throughput of water and coffee to kind of get a predictable result and get the temperature right. So I think this is super important because you are getting better consistency in terms of temperature, but then you're also not having to, as you say, waste all of that water, or maybe not waste all of the coffee if it can kind of compensate for that. So that's definitely a big win for less waste and getting better coffee quicker.
I also think, and I'll speculate wildly here, but there has to be a new fellow espresso grinder on the horizon, is my thoughts. Like they've got the fellow Opus, and that was kind of like as home espresso was booming, they jumped in with that. It was super affordable. You could see it was like interesting. You could almost see the marketing before because they had the fellow Ode, like $300, amazing filter coffee grinder, amazing build quality, like feels sturdy on your bench. Then they bought out the Opus, which was way cheaper, and they were trying to hit that like beginner market with like Bambinos and that kind of thing, you know, where it's like great grinder. I found it a little tricky to use with the grind adjustments because you had to like, it had like a collar where you'd adjust, say, between the numbers 1 to 5, but those jumps were so huge. And then you had to go in and adjust between that number. So if you put it on number 4, you then had to go make micro adjustments within number 4 to adjust it left or right. So for me, I'm like, with this espresso machine, there's definitely going to be one that's going to partner with it more seamlessly, work with that guidance, work with making it easier to brew coffee. So I'm going to speculate wildly and say, expect to see that grinder announced in the next 6 months to a year.
I think the home coffee space, because of the rise in popularity about making coffee at home, and obviously there's all of the reasons for that now, like people are getting more and more into coffee from a flavor perspective and the specialty thing and cost of living and all of those other, you know, pressures there that's driving people into that space. But the amount of innovation that's happening there and the number of people who are giving rapid feedback loops, I think that's kind of the interesting thing, right? If you think about the cafe, you've got like a cafe owner and a barista, and there's obviously thousands of them around the world giving feedback, but now you're going to have hundreds of thousands of people who are there using it and are really active in saying, this really worked, this didn't work, I love this coffee, I love it, didn't like this thing on your equipment. I mean, the innovation cycle and the space there, I think, is really exciting for us as an industry of where it's going to drive us.
So I think what's going to happen is, in the past, commercial espresso machines informed what home espresso machines were going to be. But now in a world of innovation and home espresso brewing innovating more than commercial, we're going to start to see commercial machines copying technologies that have been put into home machines.
And I think the price pressure of home machines, right, that we need to get equipment that lives up to a certain standard, but in a very affordable way. You know, what's the phrase of like the limitations are the mother of all invention, or like, you know, that if you have a limited scope, you have to find like elegant, unique solutions, which is exactly what Nick was talking about. And maybe that kind of innovative space is going to, again, as you say, Ron, push back up into the commercial space where they maybe haven't been as price conscious, although I know there's been a lot of innovation there, obviously, as well.
Absolutely. What a great episode. Hopefully we get one in. We'll be able to talk about it once we get to experiment with that machine a little bit. Even if they don't send us one, I'm sure we'll make our way to get one ourselves. But thank you for joining us. That was a great one. Ben, you look beautiful.
Thanks, everyone.
You look beautiful.
From the home studio here.
From the home studio dialing in. If you're enjoying these, make sure to subscribe. We love it. It really helps out the podcast. We're putting a lot of effort in here to getting you the best guests, the best conversations, and also just providing some really valuable information to everyone out there. We also want to hear more from you. Right, Ben?
Yeah, definitely. If you've got ideas and thoughts about where we could take the podcast, or if you know of someone who's doing some super inspiring stuff, or you've got a problem, right? An idea, an area of coffee that you want us to tackle and unpack, send us a message. We'd love to hear from you, and constantly looking for where's the need to unpack things that we can kind of tackle.
Speaking of that, we had a listener messaging me the other day when we were talking about decaf. And we were having that thing. So there's two things. I've got Jamie Thompson has sent some liquid decaf. So the next time you're in the studio, we're going to try that. We should get some great decaf and do a side-by-side comparison. So for those listening, liquid decaf is like a decaf concentrate. We want to put it up against some beautifully roasted decaf and see what that taste is like there. And I had another listener who owns a cafe who I think enjoyed it, but also was like, there's some things you missed while you were talking about this on the podcast. He's like, I just run the EK for our singles but I can also use that for the decaf. So it's not just having a spare grinder sitting around and doing that. So that's a really great way to do it. If you got the EK sitting there and you got some beautifully roasted coffee, you can just single dose that through a grinder and give the customers a really great experience with doing that. But much like him, you can also reach out and tell us when we're getting something wrong, or if there's information that we don't have this correct that you want to inform us about. Any ideas, questions, shoot us an email at hello@itsjustcoffeepod.com. You can hit us on the socials at itsjustcoffee.podcast. And then we have a beautiful Sonam Sherpa walking in behind us. You've seen him on the show as he appears in. Hi, Sonam. So hit us up on that. We'd love to hear from you some more, and we'll catch you next week. Can we give a little sizzle? Have we got Andrew Lowe coming on the next episode of Coffee Supreme? That is going to be a huge episode. One of the empires of coffee down here, from New Zealand to Australia, and also branching out to Tokyo. So we're going to look at some different markets there and how you approach tackling those different cultures when trying to start up roasteries and cafes. But that's about all the time we have for the coffee break this week. Ben, tell me that funny joke that you were telling me earlier. I want everyone to hear it.
I said that I would only drink anaerobic coffees from here on out.
You can't just say the same thing again.
That's your joke. Yeah.
Boo. All right, we'll see you next week, guys.
Yeah, I'll see ya.